At Lowe's, this Veterans Day and every day, verified military members, veterans, and their spouses get automatic silver status in My Lowe's Rewards with free standard shipping, plus 10% off eligible purchases with no annual limit. It's one way we honor and give back to those who have served and still do. Learn more now at lowes.com/military. 10% discount can't be combined with another offer. Exclusions, terms, and conditions apply. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Hey, Trojan family, what is up, and welcome to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB Network. I'm your host, as always, Ryan Dyberd. Thank you for making this a part of your day. Tonight, 7 p.m., I apologize. We were not here last night, but the call-in show tonight, 7 p.m., Madman and Tim will be here. There were some travel things going on last night. I was at practice till late, for those of you that watched my recap from my car. So, we're unable to do the live call-in show last night, but tonight, Thursday, 7 p.m., really diving into this Northwestern USC preview. So make sure to hit that subscribe button right here on the USC LAFB channel so you get notified when we go live, and bring your calls. We want that show to be about you, the listener, the viewer. Call in. There'll be a phone number to call in, plus Tim will always drop the StreamYard link, and you can join right in there. You won't be on camera, so you don't got to worry about that, but your audio will still come through. So hopefully see you all there. But I want to jump on here, quick recruiting update. As we are less than a month away from National Signing Day. And I think the exciting thing so far is this 26 class has completely held intact. Now, obviously, we still got a month to go, but I remember being 8 months ago and being like, we got a long way to go, but things are looking good. And then 6 months ago, we got a long way to go, but things are looking good. We are now less than a month to go, and USC's 35-person, number one ranked 2026 class is fully intact and feels stronger than ever. Every conversation with every commit is they're fully locked in, not taking visits, fired up about the direction of the program, fired up about this coaching staff, fired up about how even this year has gone, which it's gone well, obviously sitting there at 6-2 with a chance to go to 7 with everything in front of them, really, sitting 19th in the college football playoff rankings. So when you look around the league, I'm not saying there's been like a crazy amount of decommitments, but there's been some premier names that have decommitted from top programs. When you think of the likes of Dylan Berryman, who decommitted from Texas just yesterday or 2 days ago. And he was a guy that actually was really big on USC's radar. Coach Henney was recruiting very heavily. I don't know if it's official yet. He posted like a happy birthday post, but he was rocking, it was a graphic where he's rocking like Purdue gear. So I don't know if it's officially announced that he's committed to Purdue, but before Texas, it was kind of like USC, Purdue, and Texas. And I believe LSU were kind of his top picks. So Purdue was in the running, and maybe he had decided into flipping there. But if not, USC could maybe be back in that running. I don't think it's very likely at this point. But, you know, a Texas commit decommits. You had Jay Timmons was a decommit, or a flip, I should say, over to Ohio State. You know, who are some of these other big program ones? Tico Crittenden decommitted just recently. Other ones, John Johnson. We've seen a decent amount. Now, obviously, some are from programs that have coaching firings. But there's been, like with Texas and like with some of these other schools that have had, Alabama, I think, had a decommitment. So only saying that, not to put our skis ahead of ourselves, but at this point, USC has had 0 decommitments, and the 2026 class is feeling extremely strong. When you look at the likes of, you know, Elbert Hill, Brandon Lockhart, Peyton Dyer at the cornerback position. I mean, those are 3 elite corners with a lot of ball hawking skills and a lot of versatility that can develop nicely in this system. When you look at running back, Sean Alston, Deshaun Rideau, I mean, dudes, both of them are having great senior seasons. Sean Alston is having maybe one of the best senior seasons in all of high school football. Video game numbers he's putting up. These are two guys that can come in. If Wayman Jordan returns, you have Wayman Jordan, B-Jax, King Miller now, Harry Dalton, Riley Wormley, you got a deep, talented running back room. Don't have to hit the portal at all for that. When you look at Mark Bowman, obviously, that's like the prize of this class in terms of just profile and number of stars. When you look at 5 stars, number 1 tight end in the class, and kind of comps that he is getting as what really is his junior year in high school. And I've seen Brock Bowers comps. You could go down the list of just elite tight ends of Travis Kelce, guys that he's getting comped to because he can do a little bit of everything. A guy that can have an impact day one when getting here. Jonas Williams, quarterback, having a fantastic final season. Luke Wafel, I talked about him a few weeks ago, how dominant he has looked. Perhaps the most underrated player in this class is Jamian Winfield, defensive lineman out in Texas. Just a monster. When you talk about interior presence, strength, athleticism, gap integrity, this guy, he's rated pretty high. He's not, but that might not even be high enough. Like, he might be, some would say, the best interior defensive lineman in this class, a guy that USC prioritized early on in the cycle, and he's held firm all through and continues with that. Talanoa Ely, we know how great he's going to be at linebacker when we need that tough physicality at the linebacker position. When you look at guys that are still sliver percent chance to join in this 26 class, which again, it's already sitting at 35. Do they add 1 or 2 more? I've said before they might add 1 or 2 more, 3 more. We'll see. One name, which I've said many times now, I'll say it again, Kevin Ford. I think it's a real possibility of adding him, who's a 4-star edge player. He is has visited already, obviously, and is visiting later this month when USC hosts UCLA. So I did a video about that earlier. I won't go deep into that, but there's definitely some excitement and buzz around the prospects of Kevin Ford joining this class, which would be another elite get when you add him to the likes of Luke Wafel and the other edge rushers you have already in this class. CJ Lavender is another name to kind of watch. Now, he just flipped from Washington to UCLA, so it's hard to see him flipping again. But what made that such an interesting flip is UCLA doesn't have a head coach, and we don't know who the next head coach is going to be. So, not saying it, this is not even trying to do anything disparaging to UCLA, but was that flip consummated in a direction of what UCLA is doing? Or was it more like, I just want to be closer to home, and UCLA gives me that opportunity, and we'll see if USC comes knocking again and recruiting me. He's having a great senior season at Mater Dei, probably arguably their best cornerback, and is someone that if USC wants to, this is what I'll say. If USC wants him, I do think they could probably flip him. Just because UCLA doesn't, what is the future like? And again, maybe he has talked to, obviously I'm sure he has, talked to whether it's Martin Jarman, the athletic director, or their GM, and they've kind of laid a blueprint of what the expectation is, regardless of who the next coach is, but that's going to change when the coach is hired somewhat, and the staff is going to change. So definitely could see that if USC gets back involved and decides they want him, I think they could pull that flip again, which just another really good ball hawking corner. Hey, what's going on, LAFB family? Before we get to the show, got to tell you about my friends over at Sleeper, the #1 sports app right now, and not just for season-long fantasy. They have daily game updates. They have a live chat that you can chat with other users. Plus, my favorite part is the daily fantasy feature, which is similar to a pick'em. You just choose 2 or more players across any sport. Choose more or less in whatever sport that may be. So if it's football, more or less touchdowns. For Jaden Mayava, if it's Makai Lemon, more or less receptions. If you're looking at the Dodgers, more or less home runs for Shohei Ohtani, really easy, and you can win real money. Right now, when you go and make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code. You see it right there on the screen, USC LAFB. That's going to give you a match deposit bonus up to $100. You put in $100 to play with, you're going to get $100 free on top of that. You can put in 10, you get 10 free. Also, right now, our friends are offering a $20 free entry for any new signups. If you go sign up today, you'll get both those offers. You get $20 right off the bat free to play with. Plus, use that promo code USCLAFB at sign up and you'll get that match bonus as well. Go to the App Store, Google Play, download the Sleeper app today, and tell them that the USC LAFB sent you. Now, let's get on to the show. When we look at the 27 class, so Greg Biggins, who recently of 24/7 Sports just joined the Rivals Network. He is officially like a West Coast guy. So Rivals finally has a West Coast presence. So there should be a lot, I would say, I said this previously, but I think we'll start being a lot better rankings for some of these West Coast guys. When you look at 24/7 and it was on 3 now Rivals, there was always like a pretty massive discrepancy sometimes. Not on every player, but on some, like Tamahuni Tapui was one name. There was like a massive difference of 24/7s and on 3s. Well, Greg Biggins is one that helps with doing that. So, we'll see some of these, I think, West Coast rankings change. So he put out an article of kind of who is doing well or who's trending, I guess, in the 2027 class for USC. And a lot of these guys I've talked about before. So not a lot of new names here, but just to kind of reiterate the focal point for this Trojans 2027 effort is, Duve Williams, I think, I talked about him, I think it was just last week. And he said in a quote, which I thought was fascinating, like, paraphrasing, essentially it's USC. I'm going to have to get blown away to move off that. Like, everything is trending right. And USC is waiting to take other commitments until I commit. Now, again, I don't want to like read too much into that, but it just word for word, it basically sounded like he was saying, yeah, they want me to be the first commit in this class and be kind of, if you will, the Brandon Lockhart of this class. You remember Lockhart, I don't know if he was officially the first commit, but he was one of the very early on commits in the 26 class. And he has been the mainstay, the mouthpiece, the cheerleader, the self-recruiter, if you will, for this class. And I think they want Duve Williams to be that figurehead for the 27 class. And so I think we'll see that soon, a commitment come. Khalil Terry out of Tustin, another name that we've heard is trending really well with USC. He had a lot of ties to UCLA back when Deshaun Foster was the head coach. But now with all that changing, I think USC is in the driver's seat if they do want him. Dante Wright is a commit to Georgia. The USC is pushing for to potentially flip. You look at Danny Lang and Aaron Washington at Mater Dei, teammates with CJ Lavender. If they get CJ Lavender to flip, do they still pursue both of those guys? Just kind of depends how the numbers look in terms of roster management from 26 and 27. But Danny Lang certainly have another great year. Aaron Washington having a great year. And then we'll see what they do in their senior seasons, but certainly high on the priority list for Doug Belk, Trevon Reed and company. And then safety, Gavin Williams, another player that USC, Greg Biggins says they're all in on, and feeling looks very mutual at the moment. One of the top prospects in this entire class is two-way player, but mainly safety, Honor Fa'aleve Johnson. And right now it seems like a two-horse race with USC and Oregon. He's played all over the field. He's a dynamic offensive player, skill player with the ball in his hands, but definitely seems like going to be a safety at the next level. At least that's the way USC is recruiting him. Goes to the esteemed Cathedral Catholic down in San Diego. But he's the number 1 rated safety in the class, 25th rated national player. Rivals has it right now as a heavy prediction for Oregon. They have their recruiting prediction machine at 92.9%. USC just a 2.5%. However, I've definitely heard that USC is trending much better than they were early on. So certainly this is going to be a guy that they're going to go heavy after when you talk about fairly local recruit in San Diego County, obviously the talent level, and someone that could headline this from a safety position in that class. So definitely a lot of excitement and a lot of guided direction going towards that continued recruitment of him. As far as receiver position, Quentin Hale is a name to certainly keep your eye on. I think I've talked about it before, but Cathedral High School here in Los Angeles, he's the 6th rated receiver in the 6'3", 175. So you figure he's going to put on maybe 10 or so pounds on that at the next level, but 6'3", I mean, that's great height and kind of a different size of receiver that they've kind of added as of late. So certainly Quentin Hale's a name, and USC is a strong favorite right now, kind of battling with Oklahoma, Nebraska, some other out-of-state schools, but USC should have the upper hand if they want, and it seems like they can kind of get most of the receivers they've been wanting. So Asani Gales is the other name to kind of look for here. Goes to IMG, but he's originally from California, and we know about USC's IMG connection now with all the recruits they're getting, specifically on the offensive side of the ball or the offensive line. He is the 9th ranked receiver in this 27 class. So certainly one to look for there. Definitely feels like a West Coast kid. Stanford's in the running. Oregon's in the running. You know, there is Miami in the running, just being close to IMG, but originally from California. Looks like he wants to get back to the West Coast. And so USC will have certainly an opportunity if they do continue pursuing that. Let's see here. Going kind of down the list. Toa Sateli, he's a top player in Hawaii. When you look at, I know linebacker is a big position that the fan base certainly wants USC to continue to address and add depth to. And, you know, USC, I think because of their connection with, you know, they've had a connection with Hawaii over the years, but certainly now with Talanoa Ely being there at Kahuka, and there's strong ties there. They've done some recruiting visits to visit him specifically, but now then there's definitely other Hawaiian players that I'm sure have taken notice, and USC, I'm sure, has been recruiting some of those as well. So Toa Sateli is one of those. And then Taven Epps, he's a Texas commit. He's visited USC, I want to say multiple times, actually. Let's see here if I can confirm that. Yeah, he's been to USC like 4 times. Most recently, I think it was the Michigan State game. It was back in September. And, you know, goes to Tustin, so local kid, so obviously knows USC and what the program is. But 6'4", 235, it's a great body frame you want as USC continues to hopefully build up this linebacker class. So if they can get that flip from Texas, that would be a big one for them in this 27 class. Elijah Harmon, another one that's frequently visited and a guy that they want to continue to go after. And KJ Green is an edge who is, I believe he's committed to Georgia, but he has visited multiple times, and a guy that they have continued to recruit hard to see if they can get that flip. Last guy I want to talk about is Xavier Saab. He's 5-star, the number 1 athlete in the class. USC is high up on his list right now. He actually visited Nebraska for the USC-Nebraska game just last week. So obviously he was there visiting Nebraska, but he got to take in a USC victory, which is always kind of that added bonus when a school you're playing has a massive visitor list and you're able to win on the road. That looks very good for your prospects. So Saab said of the USC Trojans, and this is according to Rivals, I love Coach Riley's vision for me and have a great relationship with Coach Savage as well. So listed as a rival, clearly being recruited as a receiver or even more specifically an inside receiver, and someone that I think would fit really nicely within this offense. 6 foot, 180. He is an East Coast kid from New Jersey, so close proximity to where Luke Wafel's from in somewhat. So the number 20 overall player in this class. So USC trending well. Obviously, got a lot to compete with, but this is one that we could see Coach Savage potentially get across the finish line, especially if this team keeps doing what they're doing, especially seeing like what Mekhi Lemon does from the slot and how they can utilize some of the other receivers, which we haven't seen a ton of, to be honest, outside of kind of the big three of Lemon, Lane, and Tanuk Hines. But I think the vision, obviously, that Lincoln Riley and Chad Savage have kind of given on the vision board fits well with how he sees himself at the collegiate level, which would be in the kind of that slot interior interchangeable position from a speed receiver wideout type. So there you have it. A lot of names. Throw it out there. But a lot of trending good things for this 27 class. 26 class is looking as good as ever. All this team needs to do is keep winning, keep everything in front of them, and that's going to make it to the finish line. We're planning for like a big recruiting show at the end of the month, and obviously on recruiting day, we'll do a live recruiting show, which I'm fired up about, and hopefully we get all 35 of these, or maybe 37, 38 across the finish line in what will be a historic class for your USC Trojans. And I expect this first 27 commitment to happen this month. Whether that's Duve Williams or someone else, that we will see. But I feel like 3 home games now out of the 4 remaining games. Northwestern, obviously, tomorrow. And then you get Iowa next week. And then the final closing game against UCLA. So you got 3 home games that will have visitor lists. And I do believe that we will see the first 2027 commitment happen this month. But there's no rush because there's going to be a lot left spots to fill because of how large that 26 class is. So really taking their time on it, letting recruits feel it out, take visits they want, because once they commit, we know that's it. You're locking in. Once you commit, that's it, right? So good stuff. Exciting stuff, though, for this. I'll leave it at that. Like I said, 7 p.m. tonight, right here on the USC LAFB YouTube channel, live call-in show. Tim Prangley, the Madman, taking your calls. So jump on, hang out with us. We always love that. I'll be at the Call-In tomorrow, Northwestern, big game, Friday Night Lights. Hopefully see some of you there. Comment below if you're going to be there at tailgate and would love to come say what up. I'll be down at the Call-In all day long, making content and doing stuff anyway. So would love to meet you all and hang out. Thanks for hanging out with me right now. And as always, fight on.